This hearing of the Subcommittee of Commodities, Exchanges, Energy, and Credit, which is titled Review of Credit Conditions Report from the Farm Credit Administration, will now come to order. Good morning to everyone, and thank you for joining us at today's hearing to review credit conditions in rural America. This is a very, very important and critical hearing for us to examine the condition in rural America for credit and access to capital, and quite honestly, for the survival of so many of our smaller communities. We've held several hearings across multiple subcommittees that do speak to the economic landscape in rural America, and all have underscored the same key factors. One, depressed investment as a result of lower crop prices and reduced demand, land and input prices that haven't come down accordingly, a tight labor market, and, very significantly, limited access to capital and credit. And as we all know in our system, we are a credit-based economy. And this is one of the most significant points that we want to cover today in these hearings. These factors all combine to point to one thing. For all the bluster we hear about the greatest economic recovery ever, the greatest economy ever, the facts show that for far too many Americans living in small, rural communities, their economic reality is very, very different. Whether the folks that live in these small communities, whether they're farmers, whether they're small business owners, they are not experiencing the same chance at success as many of their counterparts in the urban and suburban communities. So it is my hope that through Chairman Smith's update this morning, and we are certainly delighted to have a man of his knowledge and experience to really open this up so we can figure out how we can make sure that not only are we doing everything we know we can do now, but the things that we can do in the future as well to help. We'll be able to get a bigger and better picture of our rural economic trend lines so that we can continue a conversation on how best to help these individuals from our positions here in Congress. And specifically, I want to look today at the credit conditions facing all of our farmers, but our younger farmers as well, and smaller, beginning African American farmers. As everyone on this committee knows, I've taken a keen interest in making sure that we are combating the rising average age of farmers with all the tools we have available. And that's why, as I said, speaking with the chairman earlier this morning, when you combine all that we have said with the pressures on our farmers, the average age of our farmers now are right at 60 years of age and going up. This is our future. Agriculture is the single most important industry we have. We can do without everything else, but we cannot do without food or shelter or clothing. That's agriculture. And everyone knows that we must do all we can to ensure that there are young folks to take over when current farmers retire. It is a matter of national security and is, in my own opinion, it is a national crisis. And we're going to have to look at it within that landscape. The Farm Credit Administration is uniquely positioned to keep a finger on the pulse of the rural economy. The farm credit system that it oversees comprises nearly 70 local and regional lending entities that serve farmers and small businesses in our rural communities in all 50 states and also in Puerto Rico. Our FCA also oversees Fannie Mac, which serves as a nationwide provider of agricultural credit. This coverage and access means that FCA has the ability to see trends in the rural economy at their early stages. And it's worth noting that out of this is the first time we've had the chance to sit down with Chairman Smith since his appointment by President Trump in July, and our first hearing with Farm Credit since the passing of our dear friend and colleague, Dallas Tunsager. We continue to miss his voice and his counsel, and we look forward to continuing his advocacy, his strong advocacy for people living in small communities across our great country. So now, in consultation with the ranking member and the pursuit to Rule 11E, I want to make members of the subcommittee aware that other members of the full committee may join us here today. I now recognize my distinguished ranking member, Austin Scott, for his opening statement. Mr. Scott.